When it comes to ARK, caves are a key spot to live, so we proudly present Top 10 6-man caves on ARK. This video is sponsored by Azura. Azura is a 25x server with 2-man tribes. Azura has 7 maps, and they rotate every season. Azura has insta-tame, fast breeding rates, boosted rates for solo and duo tribes, and custom supply drops. Azura has an in-game shop but does not allow any pay to win. Azura offers new player protection, turret filler, and a ton of other great plugins. Servers launch October 28th at 6 PM Central Eastern Time. And coming at number 10, this can be found on Fjordor at 7.5 latitude and 39.3 longitude. And here it is on the map. Now this can be found over in the snow area of Fjordor. Now over here you'll find this little cave, and it's not really that little. It's got a cool looking entrance, I guess you would say, but on the inside it's actually pretty big. Now the reason why this is at number 10 is for pretty obvious reasons, because this has 2 entrances. Having 2 entrances on this base spot makes it a pretty big weak spot, so unfortunately it had to be put at number 10. However, coming down into here, there are a lot of spots where you can actually put a decent sized base with a lot of room for dino storage and really just breeding just in general. You also have a little water area down in here, but other than that, it's a pretty good spot other than those little weak spots. But anyways, here is the cave. Coming at number 9, this can be found at 19.9 latitude and 19.0 longitude. This can be found on Fjordor, and here it is on the map. Now pretty much on the opposite side of the map, on the snow biome on the other side, is another cave. Now this cave is a little bit of a smaller one, so if you are a smaller 6-man kind of tribe, if that makes sense, like if you guys don't want to build huge, you guys want to build more in a little bit of a more hidden area, or you're just on a lower time server, this is a pretty good spot for you. Now it has a nice little water feature in here, which I really like, as it basically forces people to have to go underwater, which means that it's going to be a little bit harder to raid. And then it opens up into this nice little area over here that's actually a pretty good size. Once you turn this corner, you are greeted into the main room, and this main room is actually pretty good. It has a pretty good size. I mean, you can fit a good amount of stuff in here. You can fit a full base, full crafting station, really everything that you'll need. Coming at number 8, this can be found at 14.7 latitude and 85.5 longitude on the island. Now this is known as Carno Cave, and Carno Cave is by far one of the most popular spots on the island, as it's a pretty overpowered spot to live in. Now this spot is featured on a giant island, of course, as that's where it gets its name, but it's featured at the back of the island, so you can honestly spam this whole island and claim this entire area is yours, and then you also have the inside. Now, I've never been a huge fan of Carno, as it's just a kind of an awkward layout in here. So you kind of are forced to build with cliff platforms in here, making it a little harder to build. But if you're fine with that, this makes for a pretty good spot, as I believe it only has 5x damage in here. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe so about that. But other than that, makes for a pretty good base spot. Coming at number 7, this can be found at 29.6 latitude and 32.1 longitude on the island. Now this is known as Ice Cave. And Ice Cave is by far one of the other most popular spots on the island, as I'm pretty sure that these are the top 2 best spots on this map. Now this one I love a lot more, as it's just a easier cave to maneuver, if that makes sense. And coming through here, as you can see, you're open into this little kind of circle area, which actually leads into a massive crouch entrance. Now, usually the crouch entrances only last about 1 second for getting through them, but this one takes a good amount of time to get through it, making for a pretty difficult raid if you can set this up right. Now, coming through here, you're greeted with a first room, which is first of, I think, 4 rooms. So that was the first room. Then coming back in here, this is the second room. Pretty good sized room. You can put your main base in here, or put your main base in the first room. And then there's a third room, not a fourth room. There's only 3. But in the third room, you can use this as really a dino storage, or really whatever you want it to be. Coming at number 6, this can be found at 46.7 latitude and 39.9 longitude on Lost Island. And then here it is on the map for you guys. Now this spot is formerly known as Waterfall Cave. From a lot of my other videos, I just kind of chose this like nickname for this cave. I don't know what else did you guys comment. If you guys have any other names that you guys would like to call this cave, put it down below and I'll be sure to actually change it and probably switch it to something different, because I kind of think it's kind of lame. It's just Waterfall Cave, you know, kind of boring. But on the inside is a pretty massive area. It's pretty flat, so you have a lot of room to really fit anything that you could think of in here, and it makes for a very good base spot. Coming at number 5, this can be found at 15.6 latitude and 50.3 longitude on the center, and this is known as Pro Cave. Pro Cave is my favorite spot on the center, but a lot of people do dislike the spot. I don't know why, as it makes for a very great spot. Now, as you can see by the entrance, you're greeted with a nice little rat hole entrance, which is very nice, as raiding it's going to be a lot more harder for actually getting into that little area right there. Now coming inside, you're greeted with this first room, which is where most people are going to put a big turret wall. Having a big turret wall there actually really helps for the defense of the main entrance. Now coming through here, this is the first area, and then there's a second area. This first area is where you're going to put your main base. You can cover the water up with structures, really do whatever you want. The second area I did not show, but it is a massive area for dino storage. And coming at number 4, this can be found at 18.3 latitude and 29.9 longitude on the center. Now this is known as North Ice Cave. Now North Ice Cave, I will have to say, is the biggest spot on this list, because North Ice is just enormous. There's so much room to build. In fact, there's literally 2 separate areas, one being a massive area and one being an even bigger area. So if you're looking for a cave that you will never run out of space in, North Ice is definitely the one for you. A few downsides are there are a lot of dinos in here that are very high level, so having to constantly kill those is going to be annoying, and having to put spam everywhere, you need to make sure that you cover up every little area for them to not spawn. As I've built in here in the past, and let me tell you, it is not easy to spam all that off. Now coming in here, you have 2 underwater areas, one leading into this spot over here, which is a pretty good size. I mean, you have a lot of room and all that in here, but there's a second spot which is much bigger than this. Now I personally like this side of the cave better, as it just has more features on it. So it has more like ruins and just more actual texture, if that makes sense. But anyways, coming over to this other side, here's how you get back to the main area. As you can see right there, get you right back up to the entrance. And then coming over here is the second area. Now to get to the second area, you have to basically go through the water like you did with the other area, but this time you come over here. And coming up here, you're like, oh, okay, this really isn't that big at all. But if you go into the back, it kind of offers a lot more room. So you're first up here, you have one area going up, and then there's another area going down. That's what the upper area looks like, not too much in there. But the one going down is pretty big. So you're greeted into this massive room over here. It takes forever to get there, by the way. But there's a nice little water thing right before you get there. But you're greeted into this massive area. You can fit literally anything you want in here, and the opportunities are just endless. Coming at number 3, this can be found at 63.9 latitude and 44.2 longitude, and this can be found on Lost Island. Now pretty close to the last spot actually, you will find this cave, and this cave is really hidden, as it's protected by a ton of trees and a lot of vines on the entrance, pretty much making the entrance look almost invisible until you're right up on it. You're like, oh, okay, there's a nice little cave there. Now a cool feature is this has a nice little rat hole crouch entrance, which really helps for defense. And then you're greeted into the first room. This first room I built in here in the past, and I like to put a nice big turret wall in there, which usually works pretty well. Now coming into the second area, I don't ever really put much in here because it's just a nice little area to maybe store some dinos. And then here is the main area. There's a lot of room for you to build, and again, endless opportunities. Coming at number 2, this can be found at 74.5 latitude and 42.7 longitude on Valguero, and then here it is on the map. Now this is known as Valguero Spider Cave. Now Valguero Spider Cave is definitely a unique one, as it's the only cave on ARK to actually have a broodmother in it, to this day at least. Now, technically the broodmother isn't in the cave, but it used to actually wander back in here whenever the map first came out, and I remember seeing it for the first time and I was like, oh god, that thing is scary. Now, surprisingly, that boss actually has 500,000 health, which I think is kinda nuts. But anyways, let's talk about the cave. So coming into the cave, it is a nice mess. That's the best way to really say it. There's lots of different areas to go and lots of room to really build in here. Now, one thing you need to look out for, you will have to wear a gas mask in here, because there are certain sections that will kill you, so make sure to grab those, which really does help for another base defense kind of thing. If you have a bunch of gas masks and your raider doesn't, your raider is most likely not going to be able to even get to your base, not to mention the entire maze of a thing that it is to even get back there in the first place. Here's me actually trying to figure out how to get into the back, and then I was like, oh okay, if I find, and this actually in this video I found another area I didn't find while I was searching through the cave, so there's just endless areas in here. Now here's one room, but this is of course one of the smallest rooms in the cave. Now coming back over here, if you drop down right before you go over that bridge, this leads into the main room. The main room is right over here, and you'll see 3 mushrooms on the outside which enters in. Now this one you do need a mask in, so make sure to wear that, but there's a lot of room in here and a lot of pretty flat land to build with. Coming at number 1, this can be found at 26.3 latitude and 35.8 longitude, and this can be found on Genesis Part 1. Here it is on the map, and of course this is known as Lunar Cave. Now there are 2 lunar caves on this map, one being a small lunar cave and then one being a big lunar cave, and this is Big Lunar Cave. Big Lunar Cave has a ton of room in here and is overall a pretty overpowered cave to live in if you are a 6-man tribe. I feel that a 6-man tribe has more than enough room in here, and would also be great for a tribe that's looking to upgrade to maybe a bigger tribe in the future. Now inside there is a lot of room, there's a lot of flat land, there's even some water in here so you can do some water breeding if you'd like, but over here is the main area of the cave. But anyways, this cave has a lot of room to build in and is a really good spot. But anyways, that's it for today's video. We hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like if you're new and hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.